Special episode.
Wow, this is a bad idea. Well, welcome to It's a Bad Idea special episode. Episode special 1.
What the? Okay, well, yeah, just special episode.
Yep.
Kind of like a radio if you
It's just,
know what radio
like
is.
a radio feud sort of thing.
Yeah, radio fusion of a podcast.
Fusion of a podcast,
Yeah.
yes.
Radio podcast fusion thing.
Radio podcast fusion thing, thingy fusion podcast radio.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Alright, this is, what is the track?
So this track is, I believe, I can't remember the name of it fully, but I know it's by Home Resonance, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's by they're not listed in tracks. They're just kind of like whole entire songs. It's like this doesn't really list each individual one. It's not like
Fair
a
enough.
massive thing. But yeah.
But yeah, alright. Get into it.
Interesting use of synths, to be honest. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's
Like,
kinda-
nice and nice and chill.
Well, it's lo-fi.
Yeah, that is true.
Has to be chill.
Facts.
Did you just say facts?
Yes, I did. Moving on to track 2.
Track 2.
I believe it's by the same artist.
Goddamn.
Don't know the name of the song fully again.
Gosh,
It's, yeah, I'm a bit stupid for that. So,
We're all stupid for that.
yeah, pretty much.
All of us. Whoa. Cheese.
So the second track is more of an acoustical bass side of things.
Acoustical bass. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, it's got more of an acoustic side to
I mean,
things.
there are acoustic basses out there,
Yeah,
but
they're
it's
not
more
as
acoustic.
bassy.
I can hear it as well. Bells, maybe bottles.
Yeah, there's got more like clingy instruments
Kind of like a
and stuff like that.
like a rimbo.
Yeah.
Xylophone maybe. Is that alright?
Fourth track is a more jazz-styled.
Are you sure it's fourth?
Did I say fourth?
Yeah, you said fourth.
Second, third
Numbers.
song for the
Numbers,
third
good
song.
God.
We're gonna be moving into like more of a jazz sort of.
Kind of like New York, not New York, but like just
Sort of.
kind of
Sort of New
jazz
York-y.
house.
Jazz house, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
You think so?
Yeah.
Jazz house, yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever take maths?
I may or may not have put. May or may not have put a few things in. Some things.
To be honest, same.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm.
I recommend this song for like chilling out to.
Yeah, like a study.
Yeah, like studying.
To live by
Imagine,
beats.
couldn't be any of us.
I know, right? Music students studying? Never.
Nah. Not likely.
No. Unlikely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you find in any situation that you're studying, stop now.
Or if you're falling asleep, wake up!
Pull us on makeup. One or two. And for those audio listeners that are actually awake right now, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to It's a Bad Idea.
Welcome to It's a Bad Idea. This is
Or, you know,
special.
Good morning. Good
Wow.
night. Good day.
Like how we just talked through that entire song.
Oh, I know.
Oh well.
Oh, well. Well, it's kind of the real radio, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of radios do that.
Mm-hmm. Fucking radios.
Ah,
Ah,
I believe this is the starting to the fourth song.
here we go. Number 4. Did you
Number
count-
4.
did you count your
Actually,
fingers
hang on,
for
no,
that?
this might be number 3.
No, it's 4.
It's definitely 4.
4?
4.
Two?
We're having like this. We're having another moment where it's like, oh wait, that's French. Go check out some of the other ones.
Yeah.
At It's a Bad Idea podcast YouTube.
Did you ever link it? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, link it.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Good little merch
It
plug.
is us.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it is us.
It's a Squire and...
It is Squire and Scratch.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
The retarded duo.
Fucking hell.
I can't say that. You can't say that.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Well, we're probably going to wrap this up on this bit, so we'll catch you guys maybe in the next one.
Okay.
Or actually, we might save this and do some more to it.
Yeah.
Toodles for now!
Ooh.
What is the problem?
The new machine is acting up. Bars are bigger.
They are bigger.
What do you suggest?
As your immediate supervisor, I needn't tell you the procedure. Call the boss. That's correct.
You should only know how much he likes that machine.
It's his baby. Rules are rules. Call the boss. Correct.
You know, he dedicated that machine to his mother.
I think you were on vacation.
He loves her very much.
Any suggestions?
Introducing bigger mounds and bigger almond joy. The chocolate's bigger, the coconut's bigger, everything's bigger.
My wife. I love her.
I hate her. She can eat anything and not gain a pound. Now she's drinking my Diet 7-Up because this taste test proved it tastes better than the other leading diet drinks. Great. Now people who can drink anything are drinking all the Diet 7-Up. Is that fair? There'll be shortages, rationing.
Want some ice cream, honey?
No thanks, dear. I hate her.
Only one taste feels so good.
Diet 7-Up.
Coming down.
Back
Come back.
to It's a Bad Idea.
This is a bad idea.
Well,
This
no.
second half.
Yeah.
Hope you liked our commercial break.
Yep.
And this is a bad idea.
Yep.
Continuing.
Track, what, 4? Yeah.
Don't know. Not really sure. It's a bad idea.
Woo! Woo! Yay! Woo!
Well, continuing off the main subject of this part
Yep.
of being more acoustic versus standard
Well, software.
electronic.
Software instrument.
Yeah,
That's why we
software
call it.
electronic. Yeah.
Yeah. Instrumental electronic. Well, yeah.
Instrumental. But aside that, going on the continuance of the topic, there should be.
An interview. An interview at some point.
We are having an interview
This podcast.
in the foretold future of this interview with 2 people.
Me.
We have
Mr. Squire. I'm Squire.
we have Maple of the Luke Chard.
Yes.
And we will also have Ben of the Moss of the A.
Moss of the Bene.
Moss of the Ben A. Okay. So we're gonna go and conduct
That's said
interview, but we're gonna do this one here will be with Luke Chard Maple,
Yep.
as proclaimed as this photo, so already getting wrong
Yep.
in this episode.
Later on.
And later on in this episode, we will have Ben Amos's interview.
Yes.
Yes, we should have this all covered.
Yeah. Covered, not the cover, like not a cover band, but like, you know, maybe a
Yeah.
cover of an album. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just we're gonna cover it.
We
Cover
will
topics and stuff.
cover
That's
the
what
topics so
podcasting
far.
will do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Alright.
we're gonna do the interview. So we'll see you guys in just a second.
Bye bye.
So, in this part of the episode, we've got Luke Chard Maple from a band. Don't know the name of the band. Never got this information before we started. Should've, didn't. Welcome, Luke.
No, thanks for having me along. So I just want to, the band.
Yeah.
That was, so my old band are called Taylor Two Cities. We played,
There's the name of the band.
yeah, there is a name. And we played around sort of 2010 to 2014.
I think that's it. 2 cities. I'm like, no way.
Yeah, no, and I've got another band which I'm in now. Jimmy and the Judges is my current band, and we do weddings and stuff. So yeah, it's all good fun. I love
Yeah.
music. What's the questions today, guys? What are we talking about?
The more of what would be considered the acoustic side of a music production producer or band member.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like acoustic music versus a software instrument.
So you want to kind of compare?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I enjoy all aspects of music, kind of from both sides of the coin there. So you know, I've progressed from working with acoustic instruments into working with electronic instruments, and I do enjoy both sides of it. Acoustic instruments are quite special to me in the sense that the way you perform with them, they become almost part of your expression very easily because you are physically attached to that instrument when you're performing with it. Electronic instruments, for me, I'm still sort of learning everything that can be done with those. So for me, I'm constantly learning. It's hard for me to be as expressive with those kind of instruments because of the way that they interface. So I'm not really a keyboard player. So a lot of those synthesizers are, you know, based around pad or keyboards, and those types of interface for me are not as easy to be as expressive. It's like you know, you're triggering a sound and then it will play. It's hard to manipulate that sound in real time. You know, you can apply effects, you can create some amazing timbres that you'll never hear on a traditional acoustic instrument, but it's just how you play with it and how you perform with that instrument that's different to me.
I mean, for me, as an acoustic player, it's just like in attachment side. Yeah, sure. Because if you drop a guitar, if you snap a string, if you put a hole for a drum kit, you're like, great, I have to pay for that. And now it's broken. You have to refix it. I have to try and get it to come back. Or like with a string, I have to re-string it. Like, great, that string's broke. Or if you drop it and the neck snaps, that's a new guitar. Or just re-neck it, which still costs money. And like, the money side, sure you can get cheap guitars and stuff, guitars. Yeah, some are better than others. It just kind of depends on what you're into. But with like a software instrument, say if it's on a laptop or like a hard drive or no, you stick it in USB stick. Yeah, if it's on the USB stick, like if you delete it, you can just get it back, or you can. I don't know. You can or can't. It depends. If you drop a laptop, yeah, you can get a backup drive. But like if you drop a laptop, like, oh great, that's dead. Now what?
Yeah,
Well,
so
then you'd have the backups on like a USB stick or something
Exactly.
like that to then
Yeah.
retrieve your work.
And costs no money whatsoever. It could, but it can.
Getting
Yeah.
a new laptop's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, but you know,
yeah.
that's easier.
Pros and cons in terms of the equipment that you have
That's-
available.
Yeah, that's easier for getting into guitar because you know you order it, and then it takes days to come back, or weeks, maybe even a month, because yeah, shipping. Yeah, but if you get a laptop, you just go to a store, get a laptop, and you're done.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. What's your next question?
Like performance wise and stuff.
Okay.
That's my question.
What do you want to talk about with regards to performance?
Or just like on stage,
What experience or?
well, I guess.
So yeah, my experience is primarily around using a guitar. So I'm a guitar player first and foremost, but I also play drums. I've also done vocals live. I've done even main vocals live.
So a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, a bit of everything really. Played bass in a band as well at one point. So basically, I really enjoy performing with others. So it's cool when you've got other people that just want to have a bit of fun, make some music, and you can just enjoy the time creating music as a pastime. So that's what I really enjoy. For me, it's not important what instrument I play, and through wanting to just be part of something, I've learned a lot of instruments, and I've learned kind of a lot of different skills, and also kind of my nature to want to learn new things all the time. It's kind of made that exciting for me. So I do think with acoustic instruments, I've got to a point now where I am progressing and more interested in electronic instruments as well. Sound mangling, sound design, all those kind of things, because it's fresher to me. It's and some of the ideas you can definitely take back into what you do with an acoustic instrument.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, I was a pianist, piano player, keyboard player, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, and I was like, it's okay, and didn't really think I would continue with it. So obviously, yeah, got to kind of like, hey, no, and just switched to guitar, and now I'm a guitarist. Yeah,
how long have you been playing that?
a year. Well, I got, I guess 1.5 years in, because I started playing last year.
Yeah.
Went throughout the year, and then and up here, 2023.
So that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
year and a bit.
So you got a long way to go in your musical journey. Then you were kind of a relative beginner in that sense. So
Yeah,
lots of things to do.
well, experience kind of beginner.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Are you in a band?
not really.
Well, I think that's the next step. So you can really enjoy what you're doing.
Or I could do solos and perform, and maybe just produce music. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
think
So
of.
you want to be into more production?
Yeah, production wise.
That's a good thing. That's the beauty of kind of the modern world that we live in, is you can be a solo producer that does everything yourself, which is kind of what I like to do as well. So I say, I enjoy playing with others, which I do, but I also enjoy not playing with others and doing everything on my own,
Yeah.
and just producing, recording,
'Cause-
writing, everything.
And then again, you have to record with the software. You don't really need amps anymore these days. Because you can plug it into an interface, and it just you're there. You can select
Exactly.
what amp, what
That's
tone you
right.
want, everything. And there's even pedals. Like what? You never think
I
at this
barely
point.
even use an amp these days, so my live rig is basically glorified pedal. Going into what is a glorified PA speaker. So that's all you need now.
Yeah, I mean you got loop effects, you got loop pedals. Don't really need a loop pedal anymore. Just loop it on the interface, and
Yeah, interface can do all
I mean that's kind of the beauty of modern electronics now.
Yeah.
As in you just
very versatile. Everything's there.
Yeah.
And you can touch it in the sense that it's got touchscreen stuff out as well.
and you can be quiet.
Yeah. Any other questions for me this afternoon?
I mean, you got it because you're more.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for having me along, guys.
Yeah.
Hope that was an interesting discussion. Please keep making music and enjoy it.
Cool. All right.
So, thank you for that bit there. We're gonna have a little bit of a commercial break.
It's not a commercial
quite
break.
well, not a commercial break, but a little break so
Well,
we can
as
get the
the
next
Brits-
one set up.
As the Brits say, ad break.
Ad break? I don't want an ad
Oh
break.
no, I don't want an ad break.
Uh,
Or as the Americans say, commercial.
commercial
I want a
break.
commercial break, babe. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Like Stacey's so mom.
We're gonna get a little bit of a break here so we can get the next
Interview
interviewee.
Host
Host interviewee. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the
we're
next
gonna
person
see
in-
you in the guys in just a few minutes.
See you the guys in.
Well,
okay.
a few seconds.
What? A few seconds. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Woo.
Vault Tech presents Growing Up. You're growing up. And other things are changing too. You know what that means. Pip-Boy 3000. Part of your life. With Pip-Boy, all life's answers are in sight.
Pip-Boy, 3000, part of your life. Pip-Boy, 3000, part of your life. With Pip-Boy, all life's answers are in sight. That's right.
Welcome back to the third half,
The
third
third
third of this episode.
Third, yeah.
We're in this segment. We're gonna have an interview with Ben
Amos. Ben Amos.
Amos.
Amos. But yeah, about how electro music
The
and
electronic side of
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
the software side and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this bit, we'll have the interview all prepared up, and we totally have it ready.
Yep, totally. Yep, it's right there. You see, it's right over there.
It's right. It's right there on the other USB stick we don't have.
Yep.
Uh huh. We have it. No, we don't have it. We haven't even done it yet.
Stop lying to yourself, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we're all gonna have that, and hopefully in the next part we'll have a little bit of a cut, and then we will move on to the episode.
Parade of it, ad break,
So-
no?
We're not sticking under the red brick.
Nah.
We've tortured them with like 5 minutes of ads in
Actually,
2
yeah.
segments.
True.
I think we're good.
And then lost an episode.
Yeah, good point. Oh, my foot.
And
Oh,
we lost like an episode. That was really good though.
lost
It
my
was
foot.
actually-
It was a good episode. We really do apologise for that one. So
Yeah.
this should make up for it. This is like maybe at least
An hour.
gonna be just over an hour.
Yeah.
Either that or it's taken that long to actually do.
You
What's
fell
with
off
this
the
chair? Right, so we're gonna have Ben here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess take it away, Ben.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Well,
So
what are you asking me?
we're gonna be asking you a few questions on the electronic side of music production. For example, what are the benefits and disadvantages you find with said electronic?
The software side. I'm over here.
Okay. So we're talking about like DAW software.
Yeah, DAW software or any like music hardware stuff like that.
Okay.
It's digital.
All right. Well, I guess the first thing that software lets you do is just recall everything. That's what's so amazing. I started producing music at a time
Yeah.
before most of the DAWs had audio as an element. So I started on Logic 1.5 on the Atari ST, and that would just do the MIDI sequencing.
Jeez.
And all of the audio would come out of hardware samplers. So you basically had to save all of your sample data for the track on floppy disks using the hardware samplers, and Logic on the Atari literally just did the MIDI sequencing. There was no audio, there was no plugins, there was no mixer. nothing like that. So all of that stuff had to be done using the hardware. So we would have an analog mixer. The digital samplers would output into the analog mixer.
Yep.
You had to record everything yourself. So you'd have to go into the mix. If you were halfway through writing a track and you worked on a different project and then needed to go back in and kind of recall the settings, you would need to literally write everything down.
Yeah.
All the settings on the mixer and stuff like that in order to recall it so it sounded as it did. So actually what it meant is you did a lot of sessions, you stayed all the way through, to avoid having to kind of write down all the settings and revisit the mix. You would quite often just keep working on a track until it was kind of finished and you could get a mix of it. Definitely recordability is one of those important things.
So what would be your preference between things every now and then?
Well, I definitely prefer working the way we do now in the box pretty much. I mean, I'm still a fan of using like outboard processing equipment like hardware effects, compressors, those kind of things. And my studio setup is I've got all of those things connected to my audio interface, so I can dial them up as plugins in the software, but it kind of goes through, the signal goes through the hardware. So you can use the best of both worlds there. If you want the kind of a glossy reverb from an old 80s reverb unit, you can get that, but you can also have that alongside all of your nice clean crystal clear plug-in reverbs, the more modern things. So I'm a firm believer that it's good to use digital technology for the stuff that it kind of helps you to save time with. But there's definitely analog and digital hardware equipment that has a particular sound, and I think it's if you can add that along with your kind of software instruments, your plugins, then it will add an extra dimension to your music.
Getting a bit dangerously close to a bit of other stuff there. So we might break this up into 2 parts actually.
Yeah, we can pick it up afterwards.
So that's the first part of this interview. We'll go past this segment here. So we'll see you in about a few seconds, I guess. A few minutes, maybe a minute or so.
No worries.
Ta-da.
News flash! Breaking news! 6 doctors swallow Lego heads for science. Here's what came out. Dun dun dun. An emergency. What the fuck? As an emergency physician at Western Health in Melbourne, Australia, Dr. Andy Tagg says he meets a lot of anxious parents who those children have swallowed Lego pieces, much like Andy and so many years ago. The vast majority of kids simply pass the subject through their school within a day or so. But Andy and 5 other pediatricians wondered if there a way to give parents extra reassurance through science. Girl asks police to run DNA test on Christmas cookie for evidence of Santa Claus. A young girl wrote to a Rhode Island police department asking them to run a DNA test on a cookie and carrots left for Santa Claus and his reindeer.
Woman warned against people's names she loved for years due to upcoming Disney movie.
A sailor has been rescued after being adrift in the Caribbean for 24 days.
I slept with a man who had a girlfriend. Now my best friend won't speak to me.
The weird, wild, and wonderful stories you might have missed this year. As we look back on 2022, we want to share a few memories. Yeah, this isn't even news. This is just a post.
Yeah.
Hold on. Facing an energy crisis, Germans stock up on candles.
What else is there? Dun 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 dun. The impact of slamming a spacecraft into an asteroid. Dun dun dun. If an asteroid were hurling through space, making a beeline straight to Earth, whatever that is.
Yep.
How would humans prevent it from doing what it did to the dinosaurs? Would we bomb it? Would we shoot lasers at it like a scene from Hollywood, NASA's latest sci-fi flick? Or folks at NASA, they've decided and tested a theory. Throw a rocket at it. How goblin mode became Oxford's word of the year. Slang goblin mode. Slang term means behavior which is unapologetically self-indulgent, lazy, servant, or greedy, typically in a way that rejects social norms. Was the landslide pick? What? What'd you find?
If you see this toad in a US park, you shouldn't lick it.
Yeah, it's a toad.
And here's why.
What?
It has glowing eyes.
A dolphin skull was found in someone's luggage in Detroit. The luggage was unaccompanied on an international reflight entering the US. The US Fish and Wildlife Service are now in the possession of the skull. A woman was arrested for killing her terminally ill husband at Florida hospital.
Can a frog album knock out Taylor Swift off the top of the chart? Aria chart. The songs of disappearance feature the calls of over 43 frog species to raise awareness for the country's declining frog population.
US man receives final paycheck of $915 in oil-covered pennies with a EU note. French woman ruled dead in 2017 fights to be declared alive. Oh, hang on.
Time traveler, in quote, warns thousands of will fall in a giant portal on Valentine's Day.
And that concludes the news flash. Flash!
Okay, we are back.
Hello.
So, back onto the topic of, software instruments and the usage of software as a database, I guess, for, producing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, what artists do you prefer?
God, I'm into loads of different artists. I mean, I'm kind of, mostly I listen to drum and bass music. That's what I produce. I have a record label that, signs and sells drum and bass music, and I've run that for, over 20 years now. So, obviously part-time, because, I'm also a teacher, so I can't devote as much time as I would like to running a record label and being an artist, but to some extent that's quite nice. It means it stays a kind of a hobby and something that I enjoy doing rather than being something I need to kind of earn a living from, which I think is important for keeping the kind of the love for something like that, and probably the reason why I'm still doing it 20 years on, having started it when I was only a little bit older than you guys, really, I guess.
It kind of shows like you're never too old or too young. Well, never too old to learn and produce music.
Yeah, for sure. And lots of people come back to it, actually. Having kind of, done other jobs and stuff like that, they come back to wanting to get back into music. But in terms of the artists I'm into, I would say, there's some artists I work with quite regularly. So there's an artist called Myth, who's a good friend of mine, produces some amazing music. And he was a student of mine, and now he's an artist on my record label, but produces for loads of other record labels as well. Has taught me a great deal from working with him on music production. And he's one of the artists that everything he produces, is right up my street in terms of the sound. I'm a real fan of Breakage as well, who's an artist that releases a lot of stuff on Shy FX's label. Again, all of the stuff that he produces is kind of right up my street. There's an artist signed to Metalheads called Mikal. His last album, I've had on rotation since it came out, and it came out probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. It's one of those things that, again, it just encapsulates everything I like about sort of drum and bass music. So, I could go on, the list goes on in terms of sort of, producers. I would say those 3 come to mind as probably the most influential to me right now. But I try and listen to a hell of a lot of music, try and keep current in terms of my music taste, so that so that I'm abreast of the changes and the new developments in that particular genre of music.
Yeah, I mean, it shows like music is subjective to everyone. That's why it's so just amazing in some ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm into a lot of genres. I am like just a big genre guy. Because I like trance, like I like EDM, everything like that. But also like the punk rock side of things.
Yeah.
Because it's just subjective and it's nice. Cause,
for sure.
Yeah, 'cause everyone can into different genres.
The world would be a very boring place if we all liked the same music.
Yeah, we all like the same things as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've kind of been through it all really. When I was at school, I was playing in bands, used to play guitar and bass guitar, even do a bit of singing at that point. Was playing in lots of bands, trying to do as many gigs as possible. And really the turning point for me was the beginning of kind of rave music in the early 90s. I was at college at the time, and went to a few raves and a few free parties, and for me that suddenly caused a change in direction. I started listening to early electronic music and thought, oh my god, I need to find out how to produce this. Obviously I was been learning Jimi Hendrix riffs and Dire Straits and all of that kind of stuff like you do when you're, and Pink Floyd, was heavily into Pink Floyd, when you're kind of learning guitar and bass.
Now I'm learning a bunch of like Steve Vai stuff and Trivium. It's really,
Steve Vai, definitely was listening to bits of that, and loads of different metal as well. Was into Iron Maiden for years and Megadeth, and all the kind of the classics. And then as my sort of got further into guitar, started listening more to blues and a bit of prog rock and kind of all of those sort of things.
I'm into prog rock. It's really just it's nice.
And I think that all led on for me into sort of rave music. And once I kind of started DJing, playing at kind of house parties with my mates and playing at free parties and stuff like that, then I kind of never sort of looked back really. And I barely only really pick up a guitar and a bass now and again when I'm helping people out here, as part of the everyday work at the college. But from then it was all about synthesizers and learning to DJ. And I've been fortunate to have been able to play at loads of venues up and down this country and in other countries as a DJ. So that was really kind of my sort of weapon of choice moving forward.
Like with me, like you said before, with like early 90s stuff, as in like the Raven stuff, I like that. I've listened to like Finery, Wester, Paul Van Dyke, and like it's early trance stuff and rave stuff, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I was into a lot of the early trance stuff actually. But artists like Joey Beltram, Sven Vath, those kind of artists were sort of really influential on me when I started DJing. There was a tiny little record shop in the town that I lived in, and it was basically stocking a lot of European techno and American techno music for me. And I would go in there once a week with my hard-earned wages from working at a supermarket, and probably spend 60 quid a week on records. But it meant that I could really kind of move forward with my skills as a DJ. I used to play like at all our college parties and stuff like that. We always used to have like a second room where it used to be kind of like, rave music. Used to DJ at those, and then obviously playing at the free parties kind of followed from that. So I think I was determined at that point I was going to have, some great tunes to play, and determined to get out there and play them.
So what are your views and thoughts
On what?
on just the whole general side of things, like software, like electronic stuff?
Well, I guess my thoughts are that, now coming into music production, you've got so much choice and so much opportunity. When I started producing music, there was, you couldn't do it unless you had a whole studio full of equipment. But nowadays, people can write professional sounding music just using a piece of software that they can download, for relatively little cost, and it's an entire studio in their computer. And you don't even need to have that powerful a computer to be able to do that. So I think that means that, producing electronic music using software has never been more accessible than it is now. And having, platforms like SoundCloud where you can share your music, easily build up a fan base, and also, be able to kind of promote yourself as a DJ. All of those things are just really powerful things if you want to get into kind of producing music. And, those kind of things didn't come on stream, for me as an artist until quite a few years after I started. And, I think new artists have an amazing opportunity. They can get their hands on professional tools quite cheaply and quite quickly. And online kind of sample platforms like Splice make it super easy to get your hands on really good sample material to kind of utilize in your tracks. So yeah, it's never been a better time than it is now to get into music production.
Yeah, because music's pretty easy to make, like software wise and stuff. But like nowadays rappers, as you know, Travis Scott, the one that killed like a bunch of people in the crowd because they overfilled the crowd, and the Crush. He actually started on SoundCloud, I think, and he bought followers. Yeah, that's how he got famous, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's probably a lot of controversy about that, but that's not a new thing in music.
Yeah.
Record companies have been buying their own records to get their records to like a high chart position for years. They used to do it with Beatles records and stuff like that. The reason why is if you're a record company and you've got a new signing, what always used to be the case was if you managed to kind of, get them high in the charts, then people would buy their music, and it would have a knock-on effect for those subsequent releases. So, that's not a new thing actually. People kind of investing money to influence how other people see them in order to
kind of
influence the
cheating
record.
in a way, because he bought bots to play music to follow them. Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah,
I mean, I'm not advocating that, but I'm just saying that that's not uncommon.
But I do
in the music
agree
industry.
upon like them buying their own record labels to further influence their.
Yeah, buying their own records basically to push it up the chart positions, because the trouble is that people tend to follow trends,
and it struggles to get out,
rather than make their own mind up about an artist. And I imagine if Travis Scott was a undiscovered rapper, eventually he would have probably found fame. But if he comes from nowhere and has a #1 record, then all of a sudden lots of people that aren't necessarily that into rap music suddenly go out and are raving about Travis Scott because he's had a #1 record, and it's the exposure that comes with that. So
popularity doesn't come instantly. You have to gain it pretty much, but he didn't, and look what happened.
Yeah, there are different ways to make it. I mean, that's not the way I would ever take it, or do it. But yeah, I do. I'm aware of that kind of stuff happening.
It's not me. Well, music is kind of like as an industry as a whole. It's not really a make or break, but it kind of is at the same time.
I think it definitely is. I mean, a lot of the artists, modern artists, doing music alongside having another job. Because actually
It doesn't pay well.
Well, it's hard to make a living out of music.
Yeah.
It's not that it doesn't pay well, it's just that sometimes the pay's not as consistent as a regular job. Like the reason why I've always taught alongside being a musician and running a record label is because payment in music is sporadic. You might have a successful record, you might get paid well for the sales of that record over a limited period of time, and then that kind of dries up. And unless you're having successful record after successful record after successful record after successful record, and maintaining that almost on like a, every few months, and also playing lots of shows, to supplement your income, it's very hard to make the kind of regular monthly income that you need to pay a mortgage or pay your rent or whatever. So, I think as a musician, you have to kind of make sacrifices. Do you want to be able to concentrate entirely on your art? And sometimes that means that you need to make do with not earning very much money.
Yeah, like, do you want to improve your skills, or do you want to stop there and get paid?
Yeah, and I the thing is, I don't think it it prevents people from producing good art if they have a job. It just means it takes a little bit longer because they don't have the same amount of time. But there's lots of different ways to make money out of music. Lots of artists these days are running Patreons, which is basically like, teaching. It's like teaching, but it's doing it remotely, or doing, constructing kind of tutorial videos and constructing kind of samples and presets and stuff like that, and selling it on a monthly basis to your fans. So it's very similar to the day-to-day stuff that you do as a teacher anyway, but instead of working with a class of students, some of which want to be there, some of which don't want to be there, you're creating content and then you're making that available to your subscribers. But again, the difference is that you can have subscribers, you can have 500 subscribers, and then the next month you could end up with only 100, and your income from that platform fluctuates. And so again, it comes down to how much money you need to have in order to pay for the things that you need to pay for. If you live in a shared house and you have one room in a shared house, then you don't need to earn as much money, in order to sustain yourself, because perhaps your outgoings are quite low. But if you live in a larger house, your rent is going to be bigger. You need to earn more money in order to pay for that and still do the things you want to do. So yeah, it's a balancing act, I think, with music. And some people choose to kind of work and and do music as a side project, and other people want to concentrate on music totally and have to make some sacrifices in terms of the things that they can or can't do in order to get by.
Okay, final question. Do you consider the fact spam is good with bread?
Sorry?
Do you consider the fact that spam is good with bread?
Yeah, well, interestingly, right, this is a kind of crazy little story, is me and my mate, when we were probably your age, used to go carp fishing. And so we would go down to the local lakes and we would sit there, sometimes all night, fishing for carp, and you'd have like bite indicators and stuff like that. So we would have a little, like, we called it a bivvy, but it was basically like a little tent. You had your little kind of, camp beds in there, and you would have your rods set up outside with your bite indicators. So you could literally cast them and leave them, and occasionally you would fire a load of like ground bait in and stuff like that. And anyway, something that the carp were really into eating was like luncheon meat or spam. It's basically meat in a can, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they also like pedigree chum mixer, the cereal that you give to dogs.
Yeah.
So actually, quite often we would have tons of that stuff because you'd fire loads of pedigree chum mixer in, and then you'd put some spam on your hook and you'd like cast it in, right? And you were fishing for carp. And actually we would, you know, turn up there at, I don't know, whatever time, 8 o'clock at night with loads of snacks and stuff like that. And by like 1 in the morning we'd have eaten all of that. And then you get super hungry, maybe the next morning, like 7, 8 o'clock, you wake up and you're starving. And so we would start eating the chum mixer and start eating the spam. Yeah, we would be eating the food for the fish, basically.
Oh.
And it's never done me any harm, and I actually quite like spam. So there you go. Newsflash, Amos likes spam.
Right, so that concludes that then.
Yeah, that does conclude that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
This has been a bad idea. Season 1. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you for being with us this entire. Hopefully more in the future. So yeah. Oh yeah, one last final thing. Goodbye.